Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Greatness Engineering Hour show. Another amazing episode, I think. We're going to continue to talk about finance. We had a great session with the money doctor last week. And today we have another amazing guest, and we're going to talk about wealth and finance. So you want to know who is our guest? I'm not going to make you wait for a long time. I know that all of you were really ready to get into this conversation and get to educate you a little bit more about finance and wealth. So just to start, I'm gonna so our guest today is Rennie Gabriel. Rennie Gabriel is the founder and master finance coach at Wealth on Any Income. So we're going to learn a little bit more about, wealth on any income, because I'm very curious to know how you can actually create wealth on, any single income. So Rennie is going to reveal everything to us today. Is also the author of the award-winning, best-selling Wealth on the Income as well, which is I think his business is based on that on this book, and we're going to talk about the book as well. And he's been supporting people in becoming financially free, and using some principle that we're going to discover also today. And the magic thing about Rennie is that at 50 he was completely broke due to several events in his life, but he managed to come back and become a millionaire. So, and since then, it has helped thousands of people avoid a financial downward spiral. So we are really, happy to talk to Rennie today and to learn a little bit more about his journey as going through all the financial challenges that he had, but also how he's now helping people who are struggling and who also want to build wealth as well. So let's start and have this a conversation with Rennie and get to learn a little bit more about finance, because sometimes we think we know everything, but facts and results are telling otherwise.
Right? On memories. But as I got older, I started to be more aware of some of the abusive sides of
So, good morning, Rennie. Welcome to the Greatness Engineering Hour show. It's quite early where you are, but we are so happy to have you. I'm really so happy to have you and have a conversation today about finance and wealth, especially in this time of great challenges. So, just to start the conversation, let us know who is Rennie, and tell us really, what you're up to.
Oh, you betcha. Thank you, Mirag. First, I wanted to compliment you on your opening video. It's terrific. It's the best I've seen.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So, there's not a whole lot about me from the standpoint of that I find interesting, but I think that's the way it is for most people. I have, at this point, uh, have what I would say is enough. And so the whole point of the business that I've established in coaching other people to create wealth is so I can donate 100% of the profits to charity. And so the objective of the work we do is not only to support other people to handle money powerfully, but to create wealth so they can also become philanthropic. So that's our objective.
Okay, so that's actually a big one because a lot of of us, and I went through it as well, and we've been going through quite a lot, struggling with trying to build wealth, because making money is one thing, but then building wealth and creating money is one thing. So I know, I mean, reading your story, that you went through quite a few challenges and you end up with having nothing. So how did you build yourself up? Because I'm really curious about it.
Yeah, it's funny. I say that there are three secrets of the wealthy, and they're not really secrets because they've been around a long time. And to answer your first question, after a couple of divorces and a business failure, yes, I found myself flat broke at age 50. And I used a concept that's 5,000 years old to get started again. And what it was simply is treating myself like I mattered. And you say, oh, huh? What is that? What do you mean by that? Well, what I mean is I paid myself first before paying other expenses. Before I made mortgage payments or bought groceries or anything else, I took a percentage of what I was earning and set it aside for myself so I could use that to invest. And that concept literally is 5,000 years old. And a lot of your listeners have heard it, and it's called pay yourself first. That's it. Simple concept.
Okay. So that's quite simple, actually, because I was expecting something very, very complicated, because we have so many, expert and financial planner and all kind of thing. And yet that's something that we don't always hear. We always hear about paying our debts, because normally when we go to them, we are in debts. And they, the first thing that they tell us is that, you have to pay your debts. And then after that, you can, rebound and really, go to the next level. But you now telling us that we have to pay ourselves first. But how do you pay yourself first when you're broke and when you have nothing? How do you do that? I mean, how did you do that?
There's the difference between having nothing and at least earning an income. So the title of the book is Wealth on Any Income. And what that means is at least you're earning something.
Okay.
All right. So yes. And broke, by the way, is different than being poor. Poor is an attitude. It's a state of mind. It's a mental approach to things. I was broke. I had no money. And that's different than being poor. So the other part of that is that I'm trying to figure out a good way to phrase this. So I was earning an income. I set aside 10% of what I was earning. And it took me 3 years to build up enough money in savings so that I could actually invest in something. So, and something else I want to address, and you're talking about complicated things versus simple things. Complicated doesn't work for me. I think it doesn't work for most people. And so the way that I approach things is as simple as can be. I'm going to close that because the sun is right in my eyes. It's coming up where I am.
Okay. All right. So we're going to be back.
I'm back.
Okay. All right. So go ahead. Yeah.
And one of the other things you mentioned is how other people say that you need to pay your debts first. And I hear that from accountants. I hear that from other financial planners. And it is the worst advice possible because that's paying other people first. And that doesn't work to create wealth. As a matter of fact, I have seen it where people will pay off their credit card debts and then something will happen, something will go wrong, the water heater breaks, the car breaks down, whatever, and then they have to put it on a credit card again. And the cycle goes and repeats over and over again. And all they're doing is paying down debts, and they're never paying themselves first and creating wealth. And so they end up at age 65 or 70. And if Mireille, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Let's say right now you had no debts. You had no car loans. You had no mortgages. You had no credit card debts. You had no debts. That's all I'm asking. If you had no debts, would you feel or be able to be financially free?
Yes, of course. Yeah, that would I would
Really?
really, I would feel happy because I haven't, no debts. I have my income. I can
No,
do
I
some
didn't say you
savings.
had that. I didn't say you had income. I just said if you only had no debts.
Okay. Yeah,
So
then you have to point zero. You still have to get an income to be
that's
able
right.
to sustain yourself in
And
a
where
way
can
or
where
invest.
yes, now where are the two places your income can come from?
From work or from an investment that you've made.
That's right. And I didn't say you had investments. I just said you had no debts,
So you
which
have to work.
means your income would only be coming from you working, which means you're not financially free. You only have no debt. You still have to work for an income.
Wow. So that's and that's one question that I wanted to ask you, because we talk a lot about being financially free. What is really being financially free? Because I think sometimes, do you think it's a different concept for everybody, or it's kind of something generic that really represent the being really financial free?
Okay, it is the same concept for everybody. And all it means is that you have assets that are generating an income. So your money is working instead of you working, and it is sufficient enough to take care of your standard of living, whatever that is. So for some people, it might be $25,000 or $50,000 a year generated from their assets, and that would give them financial freedom because that covers however they live. For someone else, it might be $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year to cover their standard of living. But the definition of financial freedom is the same in that you have an income without having to work that covers your standard of living.
Wow. So that's, I hope, whoever is going to listen to that, or whoever is going to, watch the replay, we all get this concept, because I've, spoken to different people, and the notion of being financially free was actually, described differently. And it's good to know that, we have now a clear understanding of what it is, because even myself, I didn't, I just had it wrong. So I'm really happy I'm having this conversation with you. So in a way, and we're going to watch a video, part of your TED talk about, the mindset that, that is behind how we view money. And I really liked it, and I really want to share it with the audience, and then we come back and continue our conversation.
Great, let's go for it. After a couple of divorces and a business failure, I found myself at age 50, broke and with less than $3,000 to my name. At one point in time, I had to collect soda pop bottles and cans to get the refund money to buy food for my family. Another time, I lost a home to the bank. And if this wasn't embarrassing enough, I was still a certified financial planner. What I discovered is just like 90% of the population, I never learned any of the foundations, like how to do a personal budget. Too many people struggle with crippling debt and too little income. What I discovered is your parents can't teach you what they don't know. Your teachers can't teach you what they've never learned. And society does not value financial education. Society might say wealth is bad. Having too much money corrupts you. Well, I'm going to give you some ideas to change that situation. Where does this fear of handling money or resistance to learning about money or this fear of wealth come from? It does come from society. As an example, the scripture might say, wealth is the root of all evil. Hollywood, fairy tales, movies, and even stories by Charles Dickens paint a picture that only the poor people are the good, the kind, and the noble, and the wealthy people are greedy and heartless. Look at the movie Titanic. You see that Jack is in the bowels of the ship. He's happy and they're partying. And the fellow up at the top deck with all the rich people is evil and mean and heartless and disgusting. You look at another movie, Game of Thrones with the Starks versus the Lannisters. You look at another movie like Dirty Dancing, you've got Patrick Swayze versus the parents. Wherever you're looking, Hollywood is telling you the poor people are good and the rich people are heartless and bad. When it comes to fairy tales, you've got Jack and the Beanstalk. It's okay for Jack to steal the gold from the giant, take the giant's the goose that lays the golden eggs, and ultimately kill the giant. The giant was wealthy. Is that the moral of the story? It's okay to kill the wealthy and steal their gold? Or you've got Aladdin, or you've got any story by Charles Dickens, and you're getting that same message. The scripture, if you've heard the expression, a camel can pass through the eye of a needle easier than a rich man can get into heaven, you can see how this message continues to be reinforced wherever you're looking.
So yeah, very, very interesting, and very interesting talk. And, and one question that I wanted to ask you is that how much of the conditioning is actually part of the problem that we have right now in our society? I mean, financial problems.
It's a significant portion, and it's funny. I was looking at the shirt I was wearing in that TED Talk, and I'm wearing a similar shirt, not the same one, but similar.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So yes, that is a significant part of the problem, because when we start off as children and we're told things by our parents, we don't have the ability to filter out things. Mm-hmm. We don't have any critical thinking skills. And a lot of times that impacts us our whole life because we just believe what we were told. I had the advantage when I was 8 years of age that my mother told me, if you buy a residential rental property, the tenants will buy it for you. 8 years of age, I'm thinking, oh, owning rental property is a good idea. 8 years of age, I never filtered that out of my mind. So the conditioning's crucial. So
how did you know? Because obviously, you were doing well before you had all those, challenges. Can you say that you were still in this conditioning state before you realized, before all those challenges came and hit you, and then you moved to something different and realized that, okay, I got it wrong, then this is what it is, and that's probably why it's working.
Yeah, I absolutely had it wrong. For years, I thought if I just made more money, things would work out better and everything would be solved. And when I first started to work after I graduated college, I was a school teacher. And this is a long time ago because I'm old now, but I was earning $60,500 for a whole year. And I thought, hey, if I just earned another $100 a month, things would be fine. And I stopped teaching school and I went into sales and I earned $12,000 that first year. Doubled my income practically. And now I'm $200 a month short. And as my income kept going higher, I kept being behind how much I was living on. And when I got to about $100,000, I was $2,000 a month short in my income, or to cover my expenses. And so I figured, wait a second, I've gone from $6,000 a year to over $100,000 a year, and it's still not working. And I finally came to the realization, it doesn't matter how much money I earn, if I'm not focusing on my expenses first, it's never going to be fixed. And that was the transformation for me. I started focusing on my expenses, and I was able to actually set aside money and begin investing.
Wow. And I think a lot of us are really, lagging behind. And like you said in the, in your video, is that, the education system is not there,
No.
so, and we have to learn it the hard way before we get it right. You had to go through 2 divorces and your business completely, out of business before you understood, okay, I got it really, wrong. So, I mean, having that, obviously you went through the whole cycle. How do you help, because you're talking about earning money on any income. So what's the process? How do you help people understand that, changing their mindset? Is there a particular process that you use?
Yes, there's a 9-step process, literally, where the first, I would say the most important step is looking at the attitudes. Where did they come from? What it was that your parents told you? How did your mother handle money in your family? How did your father handle money in your family? Did you think you were rich or poor as you were growing up? We look at those attitudes, and we also look at what is it people want to accomplish. I mean, what are their values? Do they value community? Do they value helping others? Do they value family? Do they value wealth and showing off money to other people? I mean, when we get to what's important for the individual, then we can start building from there. And we also identify if there are attitudes that need to be adjusted. I was very fortunate in that my mother lived on less money than she earned, as opposed to trying to show off and look like she had a lot of money to other people. So, I at least had a good example at home from that standpoint. But by the same token, both my mother and my father were employees. They worked for other people. They had limited income and still did okay. And what I noticed was the people who appeared to be wealthy were the employers, not the employees. So from an early age, I thought, oh, well, that's what I want to be. I want to be, either self-employed or an employer. I want to be the owner of a business, not the employee in the business.
And that was quite a challenge because, in most curriculum or school, they train us to become employee.
That's
and
correct.
Not always entrepreneurs. So that was already a good thing that, even because even in a, employee house, because your 2 parents were employee, you could actually have this mindset. So you start to look at the attitude and then all the generational habits and what people want to do and what's next,
The next
when
step,
you have all of this.
Yeah, it's so funny. You're leading into what I call the 3 secrets of the wealthy. And I use an acronym AFI. And for people in the United States, they hear AFI, American Film Institute.
Oh.
Has nothing to do with that. And the A stands for attitude. So we were just discussing some of the attitudes. The next step is F, which stands for forms. There are forms that the wealthy use to find out where their money's coming from and where they're spending it. And I don't care how much money people make, if they're not tracking their income and their expenses, they will get into trouble. And the best example I have of that is John D. Rockefeller, who in the 1800s developed a company called Standard Oil, and which was a worldwide organization. So people anywhere in the world may be aware of John D. Rockefeller. At age 11, he had a journal where he tracked every penny that came in and where he spent every penny. That's at age 11. And when he was a multi-billionaire, he was still tracking his money personally, not just his accountants. And this is the wealthiest man in the world. So you got to figure if it works for him, why not for ordinary people too?
Exactly. Yeah, we just have to copy and paste, isn't it?
Exactly. So the second step is the forms. How do you use an income and expense? How do you calculate how much you're worth, your net worth? And so learning how to use those forms, and they're really simple. They're not complicated. Again, I have to do things that are simple because I am. And then the last secret is the investments. The wealthy are not limited to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. That's not where the wealthy are putting their money. They're putting it into real estate, whether it's office buildings or multi-unit residential properties, or they're putting it into oil and gas investments, or they're putting it into mini storage facilities, or they're putting it into limited partnerships or syndications or triple net leases, on and on and on and on. They are not, I would say the primary thing is the investments that they're in, they are controlling as opposed to being at the mercy of them, like buying some stock and hoping other people are doing well with the company.
Wow. So, and I like what you're presenting today, because, attitude, form, and investment, those are things that, very simple, but yet, we prefer to go to what's complex, and and that's something that I don't understand. It's really, like you said, it's really a mindset problem, and we need, it needs to be rectify at some point. And it's amazing. So I had another clip on your video again where you talk about all of this with a little bit more details, and we'll come back again and continue this amazing conversation, because I'm learning so much today, and really it's amazing.
You might say to yourself, I wish I learned more about money earlier. Or you may have the desire to learn more about creating wealth today. And what I'm getting at, it is never too late, because at age 50, I started over from broke, and I adopted 3 secrets of the wealthy that I'll tell you about shortly, and went from broke to multi-millionaire. I used a 5,000-year-old secret that will still be working when you and I are dust. One of the things that I discovered is that, like I said, there are 3 secrets. You can remember them by the acronym AFI. Sometimes we're a slave to money and not the master of it. And these 3 secrets are the acronym AFI. It does not stand for the American Film Institute. It stands for Attitude, Forms, and Investments. And the first one, attitude, is that the wealthy people have a different attitude about money than most people. As an example, they don't waste small amounts of money. They pay themselves first, not their bills. They use debt to create wealth instead of using debt to buy consumer items. And they recognize wealth creation is a team sport. It is not a solo sport. Every business you can think of was not created by one person. But you may have a front person who's a visionary and a second person who's an execution master. How many of you are familiar with Warren Buffett? Yeah, most of you. How many of you are familiar with Charlie Munger? Hardly anyone. But Charlie Munger is half of Berkshire Hathaway. And in Apple, you've got Steve Jobs, and you've got Steve Wozniak. Steve Jobs had the vision, Steve Wozniak executed on it. You can go to business after business after business, and you can see it's a team sport, not a solo sport.
So yeah, and I like the last one. It's a team sport. sport, not a solo sport. And that's something sometimes that we don't know, because they say, okay, this person is a billionaire and, is a self-made billionaire. And, they don't, talk about the team behind and who is part of it. And it's important that we understand that, because sometimes we get stuck because we see one person and we say, how does this person work? You try it on your own and you don't, you don't get anywhere. And that's very important.
It's crucial, and not only are the other people a part of the success, they're an integral, important part of the success. And a lot of people around the world know of Elon Musk as well, and SpaceX and Tesla Motors, and Elon Musk has commented that he doesn't know anything about manufacturing cars. Okay. And so he at least lets people know it's not all about him. And that he's got someone else running SpaceX. He's got someone else running Tesla. He didn't create PayPal by himself. And so that's exactly the point. Yes, you have someone up front who may be the visionary. They may be the point person. They may be someone the population recognizes as the leader of the company. But there's someone behind the scenes who's carrying out the vision. And that's really crucial.
And that's really crucial. And I think that's one point that we need to stress out. And I hope the audience, whoever is watching and whoever is gonna, watch the replay, you're taking notes and you understand that, don't go solo, especially if you want to, expand financially and get to be free financially. You need a proper team to help you to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And where are the key challenges? Because it's one thing to, to have the knowledge and to have all these, all those processes and all those secrets. What are the key challenges that you encounter with your clients? Because it's simple, but in a way, it's also kind of unbelievable. You're like, okay, is it that simple to be able to become a millionaire? So what are the key challenges that you encounter, when you reach out to people and even, when you work with people?
You just led me to a perfect example. When I started over at age 50, I was saving up $500 a month. I was earning $5,000. That 10% is $500 a month. 3 years later, I've saved up $18,000. Well, guess what? That's not enough money to do much. And that's where the team concept comes in. I did not create this wealth by myself. My wife and a real estate person were the three people, myself, my wife, and a realtor, who came together to buy some residential real estate. And as an example, the realtor said, oh, I found this property, let's buy it. Well, guess what? I only have $18,000 and the down payment was like $72,000.
Whoa.
Okay. Well, my wife came up with 18,000. Now we have 36. And the realtor came up with 36,000. Now we had 72. And it was the three of us that bought that property. It was my labor where we rehabbed it, we re-rented it, we increased the value. And literally about 4 years later, we sold it for $500,000 profit.
Wow.
So again, it's the team effort. Now, taking into consideration, I'm starting off at age 50 and I was broke. Guess what? I also had bad credit. So the key to the success, these two simple things: other people's money, or OPM, and other people's credit, OPC, meaning I didn't have a good enough credit to qualify for a loan. I had just been broke. I was behind on credit card payments. And so again, it's the team approach. It was able to create the wealth that I created.
Wow. And how do you, because obviously, I mean, what I've seen is that when you're broke, nobody wants to get around you. So how do you find, those team members? And
It's funny. There's a quote by his name is Jim Rohn, and if someone looks up Jim Rohn in Google, they'll see all sorts of great quotes of his. And one of them is that your income will be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so what I realized is I need to spend time with the kind of people that I want to become. And generally they're good people. So just because I was broke, they were still willing to hang around with me because I was at least a good person. Maybe I had no money, but at least was a decent human being. And I mentioned it a little bit in that TED talk about a lot of people have a fear that wealth will corrupt them. And that's only the case if they start off being corrupt. Warren Buffett has a fabulous expression. I love it. And he says that of the billionaires I have known, money just brings out the basic traits in them. If they were jerks before they had money, they were simply jerks with $1 billion. And what that also means is someone who is giving, is kind, and they become wealthy will still be giving and kind. And so the point being is looking at who you are to begin with, and you just want to hang around with the people who have what you are striving to achieve.
And that's an important point about money that you just made, is that, if you were already a bad person before, you got money, it's just going to be, it's just going to be more visible when you get get money. And the same with, if you were a good person, then, you're gonna be a good person even if you have, if you have money. And I think what we need, what I get from it, is that money is just, it's just a tool in a way. But what you do with it is translated by the person that you are. And that's a very powerful statement that we need to understand, because we always, like you mentioned in the first video, we always have those, quotes on money being bad and the wealthy being, but at the end of the day, it's not the money itself, it's actually the person that we need to look at, and actually point out, instead of money itself, because money doesn't have any energy in the end. It's the energy of the person that the person bring, that's actually reflected on, wow, that's a very, very, powerful and interesting point. So I mean, you obviously built, you wrote a book, Wealth on Any Income, and also started your company. So what is your company doing in a way? We've talked a little bit about it, but just to have, a little bit more detail on what you're offering, and then how you manage everything.
Yeah. Based on my own experiences, I created what I would call a 9-step roadmap. Like I mentioned, the first thing is the attitudes, where you're coming from. And so it's a step-by-step process. So we created a program with videos, with support, group support. I provide unlimited email access to answer questions. The bottom line is, because wealth creation is a team sport, we become a part of the team to support people so that they can make the correct choices, make any course corrections, adjust any thinking. And, you mentioned my book, and this may sound egotistical, but my book is really great. It is best-selling. It is an award-winning. It's been translated into 8 languages. And so, I can say my book is great, but you know what? I don't care how great any book is. It is not as good as a human being. There's 2 things a book cannot do. A book cannot interrupt someone's faulty thinking. I mean, it takes a human being to say, "Oh, Mireille, I don't think that's right, what you're saying." A book can't do that. And the second thing a book can't do, it cannot hold you accountable. again, it takes a human being. So Murray, if you said, well, Rennie, I'm going to go start buying some individual stocks, or I'm going to open up a separate wealth savings account, or I'm going to start paying myself first, whatever. And, if there's no one to hold you accountable and you don't do it, well, so what? Who knows?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But if you've got someone who's holding you accountable, Murray, did you open that account that you said you were going to open?
Mm-hmm.
A book can't do that either.
Yeah.
That requires a human being, which is
Mm-hmm.
why we've got a course and we've got team members to support the people who enroll in the course.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, which leads me to, the period that we are in right now, which is, this pandemic and really, all the impact, on the economy and on people in, finances. So, what would you, how can you help, and what will you recommend, in such a period for people to still be positive, especially when they see their financial support completely scrambling?
Yeah, this goes back to something you said earlier, that the
Mm-hmm.
school system prepares people to be employees,
Mm-hmm.
not business owners.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we do for people who are in that situation, they've been laid off, they're out of work, their hours have been cut back, or whatever that situation is, we start by showing them how they can generate an income from the skills that they have without becoming an employee again, without being hired by someone else. As an example, I didn't realize it until recently, but I've always been too insecure to have a job. And people say, what? That doesn't make sense. What do you mean? Having a job is security. You've got someone providing you 100% of your income. No, that's insecurity. Because if 100% of my income is coming from one source and they go out of business, or I get laid off, or whatever, I've lost 100% of my income, but I still have 100% of my bills. But if I'm employing myself, if I have multiple clients for whatever I'm doing, whether it's dog washing or dog walking, or washing cars, or cleaning houses, or doing accounting or bookkeeping for someone else, if I have a bunch of clients and one of them says, Rennie, I hate you, I don't want to work with you anymore, I haven't lost 100% of my income. I just lost one client. And so since I stopped being a school teacher, I've always created my own income. And, that's been my saving grace. And so that's one of the first things that we do for people in that situation where in the pandemic, let's say they were working in a restaurant, or they were working in some business and it closed down, or it's sending people home to work, or it's laying off a part of their workforce. We have them become creative with their skills and find out how they can generate an income on their own without becoming an employee somewhere else.
Yes. And sometimes we know so much, but we don't know how to monetize it.
Yes.
And that's actually the key problem, is that we accumulate knowledge and and we don't know how to monetize it at all. And yet we are a wealth of,
exactly. I had this conversation just last week with someone who was he was buying houses, fixing them up and flipping them. And his last situation cost him $200,000 and wiped him out. And he was broke and he didn't know what to do. And he was also an employee of a state government. And so that was the income that he had to live on. And he said, I'm in this problem and this didn't work out. And I'm saying, well, you have a fabulous experience of having lost money on the last project. You can sell that education and information to other people. He says,
exactly.
What do you mean? He said, well, you know what? Why not write a report that you can sell that says how to avoid losing $200,000 on your next construction project, or how to avoid the mistakes I made. And so he's now writing it up and beginning to sell it.
Wow. And those are, the simple things that we
Yeah,
don't think about because
he
we,
couldn't see it.
yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Again, as great as any book is, it cannot hold someone accountable or interrupt their faulty thinking or even help them be creative thinkers. So now
Hmm.
maybe I should say the book can't do three things, but actually the book can inspire the creative thinking, I hope.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And so that, so I actually recommended a book to him on how to become more creative with his thinking and think outside the box so that he could see other ways of generating an income.
Hmm. Wow. And I like it. And I like it, sometimes people say I'm crazily optimistic, but this situation is actually making us, go back and really get the right education and come back strong, and I think financially for a lot of people, it's got to be the breakthrough, because now we have new knowledge. We went through the full process, and we can only, go up and really do really good things, because now we have both experience of being an employee and being broke, and now we learning through the process, and now we know now how to use our knowledge to be able to monetize it. And if it was not, about this situation, it would have been very difficult for people to think about it, because in a way you start to become like conditioned, basically, and you just, go to work, do what you have to do, and not trying to have some disruption in this process. So
Exactly.
that's really, that's really amazing. And yes, go ahead, Rennie.
I was just going to say, yeah, the comfort level, when people get into a comfort level, it's very
Hmm.
difficult to make those adjustments. And it's only out of trying times and when things go wrong that people have to examine what they need to do. I mean,
Hmm.
it's sort of like if I had the best aspirin in the world, you wouldn't take it if you didn't have a fever.
Exactly.
So the cure might be the aspirin, but you're not interested unless you have a fever. So until
Hmm.
someone loses their job and has to come up with new creative solutions, there's no reason to look at it. So that
Hmm.
comfort level can stop the growth.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's really good. Let's have the third video on your company, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Already, because it's gone really fast. So we'll be back. So today we are with Rennie. Rennie is the founder and CEO of Wealth on Any Income, and we are having an amazing conversation about, finance and wealth creation, and we're learning so much today. So don't go anywhere. We are back with Rennie, and to for the last part of the show.
Do you feel like you're drowning in debt? Is your business income too low to support your standard of living? Or do you have a great income but have too little to show for it? Would you like to be philanthropic but just can't see how? Welcome to Wealth on Any Income. We offer training videos, group coaching calls, and individualized attention from someone who's gone from broke at age 50 to multi-millionaire and now donates 100% of his coaching profits to charity. Visit our website to receive free business building tools, a free summary of the award-winning best-selling book, Wealth on Any Income, and a weekly email on the attitudes of the wealthy. Visit wealthonanyincome.com now.
So we are back. We are back with Rennie. And Rennie is also a philanthropist. So just want to ask you a little bit more about, what you do in your philanthropy work, and, what's the impact, in a way, of this philanthropic work.
Thank you. I so love the organization that I support. It's called Shelter to Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I have always donated to animal causes. I've always donated to veteran causes. And, you know, the soldiers who are in various parts of the world, allowing the people in their home countries to have the kind of freedoms that they have, aren't necessarily treated that well when they come back and they have problems.
Mm-hmm.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injuries. They come back sometimes not functioning well. And the suicide rate in the United States for returning soldiers is
Mm-hmm.
almost 1 per hour.
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
dogs are euthanized by the thousands, and they have a purpose in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so the organization Shelter to Soldier takes dogs, rescues them, trains them as service animals, feeds them, trains them, handles the vet bills, and they become service animals for soldiers who've come back with traumatic brain injuries or post-traumatic stress disorder. And not one soldier who's received their service dog has committed suicide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this charity is saving 2 lives at a time. Dogs that would have been euthanized and people who could have committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
So they get 100% of the profits from the Wealth on Any Income programs and coaching. And I'm just thrilled to support them.
Yes, and that's amazing. And like you said, a lot of the veterans, when they come back, they've been so traumatized, and they need support, and the support is not always there. And it's important that somebody, some organization help them. So for the audience, please, see Rennie TEDx talk. The 2 videos that we had today were, extracted from this talk, and really, you just have to watch it, and you'll do a good, a good thing to, and help have an impact in somebody's life, because each like, is a $1 that is donated to the Shelter to Soldier organization. So make sure you watch the video, and you share as well. You share so that a lot of people can watch it, because that's really, it makes a difference. So and for you, it's just 15 minutes of your time, and I think you can find that, especially today, and now with us being mostly at home, and due to the pandemic. So, I mean, Rennie, we getting, to the end of the show, and I really wanted to ask you, what is, the you went through, all the cycle of life, from broke, from, being a millionaire, now, philanthropic. So what's next? I mean, what's the legacy that you are working toward?
That's really what it is. It's just that the legacy is allowing more people to become philanthropic.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's where the change in the world comes from. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily come from the governments. It comes
Mm-hmm.
from the people. It comes from
Mm-hmm.
people who have developed foundations and are donating to the causes that touch their heart. And it doesn't have to be the cause that touches my heart. It could
Mm-hmm.
be whatever touches someone else's heart. And if they
Mm-hmm.
want a lot of information, I mean, I have $1,000 worth of free business building tools on my website. And if
Mm-hmm.
any of your listeners go to wealthonanyincome.com/tools, and then the number, I wrote it down, the number 2,
Mm-hmm.
um, they can get all sorts of business building tools. So if this is not something that they've thought about before, or if they're already in business, this will provide them tools to increase the value of their business and what they're doing. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's just going to wealthonanyincome.com/tools and the number 2, and they've got access to a lot of stuff.
Okay, all right. So I have it here. Let me just so if you, if you're watching, there's a free gift, go to the link that is provided here. So www.wealthfromanyincome.com and /tools2. So don't let this opportunity pass you pass, and make sure you grab this gift. And it's really, amazing. So I mean, it's a shame that we have to stop this conversation, because it's just an hour of time that we have. But it's been so great to have you today, Rennie. And we've learned a lot again on finance. I mean, that's our second session in few days. And I think, we managed to get a lot of insight. And for those who want to know more, and especially if you have challenges and you really want to get your financial freedom, please don't hesitate to get in contact with Rennie, and get to learn the 9 steps that is mentioned, and make sure that, like him, you become a millionaire, because that's the way to go. And I know a lot of people really want that, but they just don't know where to go. They just don't know what to do. And they really need expert like you to guide them. So just to, before we leave, how can people connect with you if they want to either continue this conversation or reach out to you for your services or any product that you have?
Using the free gift link will
Mm-hmm.
allow them to see the website, and how to get a hold of me or the team can be easily done through the website.
Okay, all right. So I've put here, a slide where you have the website. So that's the WW Wealth on any income. And then you can also reach out to Rennie on most platform here. So everything is mentioned here on LinkedIn under his name, and then on Facebook under Wealth on any income, and the same on Instagram and Twitter. So please reach out to Rennie, and don't forget to watch the video, because we need your support. We need your support for, for the veterans who need, they need this support for to get back into, society, and avoid, that they commit suicide. That's important. By just, spending 15 minutes of your time, you can save a life. So don't hesitate to do that. So before we leave, there are quite a few information that I want to pass. A lot of news. Um, there's the magazine that is, the magazine have been launched. The Greatness Engineering magazine was launched on the 23rd of July. That was my birthday present for myself. But obviously, it's also, part of the philosophy that, we're pushing, which is the philosophy to make sure that people become the best version of themselves, and that, they start to engineer greatness wherever they are and wherever it matters. Like people like, Rennie, who is engineering greatness, helping veterans and dogs as well. So you can do the same, and you can, make your part. You have the knowledge, you have the experience, so don't hesitate to do that. So that's one thing. And there's also a book coming. I'm part of a book with 20 author, and it's being built on our biblical knowledge of life and wisdom. Again, another good gift for society, and for, our communities as well. So that's all for today. And before we leave, Rennie, what is the last word that you want to leave the audience with?
The most important really is that wealth creation is a team sport, not a solo sport. That makes
Mm-hmm.
all the difference in the world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so you got it. And we have one of our one in the audience. So that's Princess. She's watching from South Africa, and she's saying thank you to you and to your guest. She's enjoyed the conversation today. I'm honestly inspired by your show. So that's fantastic. Thanks, Princess, for tuning in. and hopefully you reach out to Rennie to know a little bit more, because obviously in 1 hour it's pretty difficult to have, to talk about all of this, and Rennie will be more than happy to help you. And like Rennie was saying, building wealth is not a solo sport. Make sure you have a solid team. Make sure you have people around you who are going to help you to do that and to be free financially, and understand the free secrets that is share, attitude, form, and investment. And those are the key to your success. And if you have any, if you want any clarification, please reach out to Rennie. He's passionate about all of this, and he's probably going to help you, and it's going to actually help you to gain time instead of trying to, figure it out on yourself. So that's the end. And again, thanks, Rennie, for your time, and for, for all the information, and the inspiration as well, because I think it's probably the first time that I have a millionaire on my platform. So it's really, a good thing for me as well to understand. And I also probably reach out pretty soon, because we all attracted by, what we all want to be financially free, and so that we can also help, because I do a lot of, philanthropic work as well, so we can help others and bring everybody up. So thanks a lot, and thanks for the audience. Thanks, Princess, and everybody who's gonna. And I hope, people who are going to watch the replay are gonna enjoy it. And please don't hesitate to, to reach out to me, or, to Rennie, if you have any question or if you need any clarification. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll be back next week with another amazing guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marae.